When my husband of 31 years died, the casseroles came, the condolences came, and everyone said, "I'm so sorry for your loss," which was lovely, beautiful, and very much appreciated. But what no one said to me was, "You're gonna feel angry." No one warned me about the guilt, and absolutely no one prepared me for the quiet sense of relief that he didn't suffer. We were college sweethearts. My whole life was about we. It was all about our future, our house, our children, our plans. Then in a single moment, it became I. And that I felt like a total stranger. No one warned you that widowhood doesn't just break your heart, it completely unravels your sense of self. Imagine waking up one day and not recognizing your life. That's what being a widow at midlife feels like. Yes, it's grief, but it's also identity theft. And oddly enough, we were going through that at the time, and that's a whole other video. This video isn't about grief. It's about what comes next. It's about midlife reinvention, not the polished, pretty kind, the real, the raw rebuilding of a life you never expected to have to build on your own. If you're here, you're probably walking in this path. And my first promise to you is that here, you don't have to pretend. We're going to be honest and what this really looks like. If you're here because you're going through this or love someone who is, just know this is a safe and honest space. We're not sugarcoating the brutal parts. Today, I want to talk about 5 brutal truths. Truth number 1, emotions no one mentions. The first brutal truth, the one that hit me like a physical blow, was where all of the emotions I completely was unprepared for. Society kind of gives you a script of grief, and that script is sadness. You're supposed to be sad, and I was. Devastatingly, so much I would cry myself to sleep for months. But what are you supposed to do with the rage and the anger that boils up because he freaking left? Anger at the universe because he was only 50, at the doctors, and sometimes in the quietest, most shameful moments, anger at him for leaving you here to deal with all the wreckage alone. It sucks. Grief isn't just one color. It's chaotic, a confusing mess of feelings that are constantly contradicting each other. A few months after his death, I remember hearing a song in the car. In that 1 second, I felt a wave of sadness so deep that I cried so hard I had to stop and pull the car over. Right behind it came a hot flash of anger that he wasn't here to hear it. And then a split second later, a wave of guilt feeling angry in the first place. And underneath it all, a whisper of something I barely dared to admit to myself, relief. Relief that it was fast and he didn't suffer for months or years. Those feelings are messy and uncomfortable. I wish someone had told me they were perfectly normal and valid. They are part of the price you pay for this deep and complex love for someone. Acknowledging them isn't a betrayal. It's the beginning of being honest with yourself, and that is the only way you're going to get through this. Truth number 2, your identity vanishes overnight. The second brutal truth is that after 31 years, I didn't just lose my husband, I lost my own identity. For more than 3 decades, I was a wife. I was part of a couple. My name was rarely ever said without his. Our social life, our decisions, our very sense of who we were, it was all tied together. When you lose your spouse, you go through what experts call secondary losses. And losing your own identity is maybe the most disorienting one of them all. I'll never forget the first time I had to fill out a form after he died. I got to the box that said marital status. For decades, I checked married. What was I now? A widow? A label that just screamed loss and pity? Was I single? That felt like betrayal, like I was erasing our entire life together. It sounds so small, a simple checkbox, but in that moment, I honestly felt like I had no idea who I was. And it seeps into everything. You realize you don't know what your favorite movie is, only what our favorite movie was. You have to learn how to make every single decision, big or small, completely on your own. Who am I if I'm not with this partner? Who am I if I'm not half of this whole? That question is terrifying. It's a slow, painstakingly process of rediscovering yourself, or maybe building a new you from the ground up. It is lonely and often frustrating to find the new self. It's not just grief, it's reinvention. It's not the kind you choose, it's the kind that's forced on you when everything you thought you were gets stripped away. Truth 3. The loneliness is louder than silence. Everyone knows widowhood is lonely, but the third brutal truth is that loneliness is very specific, a profound kind that goes way beyond just being alone. The hardest part isn't the silence in the house, it's the absence of your witness. I know this may sound strange, but for 31 years, I had a person who witnessed my entire life. He was the one I could turn to and with a look say, "Did you just see that?" He knew the backstory to every single joke, every frustration, every little victory. When he died, my witness was gone. And that is a loneliness that is absolutely deafening. I could be in a room full of people who loved me and still feel completely, utterly alone because no one else shared that specific 31-year history. This gets even worse when your social world starts to shrink. Friends don't know what to say, so a lot of the time they say nothing at all. The invitations to dinners stop coming because the symmetry is off, and frankly, it really makes people uncomfortable. The world is built for pairs, and when you suddenly are a one, you feel like you just don't fit anymore. While some studies show social support can be stable, others point to the fact that many widowed people experience a significant change in their social networks. It's not always mean-spirited. It's often because friends are deeply uncomfortable with your grief. They want you to move on, but your very present is a reminder of the reality that he isn't here too. So the loneliness gets deeper, not just from empty spaces in your bed, but from empty spaces at the dinner table where your friends used to sit. Truth number 4. Grief isn't a phase, it's your new roommate. The fourth brutal truth is one that our society desperately wants to deny. Grief is not a phase you get through. It's not a problem you solve. Grief is your new roommate who moves in the day your spouse dies, and they never, ever leave. People talk about healing and closure and moving on. They mean well, but those ideas can feel like a lie. They imply that grief has an end, and it doesn't. That one day you'll be cured, and you won't. That's just not how this works. The goal isn't to evict your new roommate. The goal is to learn how to live with them. Some days your grief roommate is quiet. They stay in their room, and you can almost forget that they're there. That's most days. You might laugh, feel a moment of joy, and think, hey, maybe I'm getting better. And then you watch a video of something you shared, and boom, the roommate comes roaring in, cranks up the music, and completely trashes your living room of your heart. A grief wave hits you the same it did in those first 4 weeks. This isn't a setback. This is the nature of grief. This isn't a straight line. It becomes a permanent part of your emotional landscape. Learning to live with it means making space for it. It means understanding you can build a new life, even a very, very happy life, while still carrying the sorrow. It's not about moving on from your grief. It's about moving forward with your grief as a part of you. Truth 5, the shift from surviving to rebuilding. After all these brutal truths, it would be so easy to think that life is just over. And for a while, I did. I was just literally surviving. But there comes a point when it starts getting better. And it's not a lightning bolt. You start to shift from just surviving to cautiously, slowly rebuilding. Rebuilding your life does not happen in one day, but it does happen one choice at a time. The first time I felt a tiny shift was the day I decided not to color my hair anymore. I know this is funny. I had colored my hair since I was 18, and my husband met me when my hair was colored, bright red. I was a redhead until the end of my 40s. I started going a little blonder because all of my pretty sparkles were showing through. I told him I wanted to just stop coloring it. I was tired of it, the fight to keep up with it every 3 weeks. He really didn't want me to. He thought I'd look much older, so I didn't to appease him. But when he died, I remembered trying it. Not because I couldn't afford it anymore, but because it made me happier, and I absolutely loved it. After all these years, to not force myself to go into the salon, pay all the money all the time, it felt great. Give yourself permission to change. Reconnect with passions you might have put off on the shelf or discover new ones you never knew you had. Understanding that creating new joy doesn't take away from the love you had. In fact, it can be a way of honoring that love. You begin to realize that you can carry the past with you without being chained to it. Your story didn't end when his did. That was a huge, incredibly important chapter, but it wasn't the last one. You get to write what comes next. Widowhood is brutal. It tears the floor out from under you and leaves you to figure out who you are now without the life you thought you'd had. But here's the truth. Your story just isn't about grief. It's about reinvention. It's about discovering, maybe for the first time in decades, what you want, what you need, and any kind of life you're ready to create next. This journey isn't easy, and it is far from linear, but it is a beginning. A midlife reinvention born not from a choice, but from an unimaginable loss, and fueled by a strength you didn't even know you had. If this video resonated with you, if you're navigating widowhood or any life-altering transition, I invite you to subscribe. Join this community of women who are finding their voice, rebuilding their joy, and reinventing their lives, one tender, powerful step at a time. You're not broken, you are becoming. Let's walk this new chapter together.